Okay, something I've been thinking about lately is I guess we're going to call it the popular notion of communication. And I think it goes something like this, that a person has something inside themselves, some idea substance, some thought. And then when they want to get that thought across to other people, what they do is they pull it out from inside themselves. They put it into language, is encoding process that makes it outwardly material, and then from there they drift it over into the other person. And I guess a lot of communication is from that perspective seen as a an inward expressing outwardly, and then the outward expression being heard and then internalized. And the more I kept thinking about this issue of inside and outside, and is there really an inside? Now, I think we know what people mean, right? I mean, I look out in the world and I see my skin and I know that there's an inside there. But it seems like there's another sense in which anytime I open up my skin, if I cut open my body or even I cut open my brain, there just seems to be more outside. And then you start to ask this question of what is the inside and what is the outside? And I guess, one of the ways to maybe try to come at it is to say that what we call inside is really just time. It's the way that the past and the future haunt the present by being inside, quotes, quotes, rather than out here in the materiality. That is, it's not that when I'm talking with someone, when I'm talking with you, that there's something inside my head. I mean, my head's empty, or at least my consciousness is an emptiness that's nothing but the past and the possible future. And it opens on with another person toward some aspects of the world. So, many of the things, we'll say most, if not all of the things that I'm talking about, they're not some things inside me that I'm trying to convey in an outward way. It has to do with me and another person, or me and multiple people already being co-comported toward a world, and then the speech allows an articulate co-comporting toward aspects of it. Like I can say, hey, I'll meet you at that diner tomorrow at 2:30. Now, that's not really a thought inside my head. It has to do with the way we, as opened to the past, are managing this thing called the future. Like, could it be that consciousness really doesn't have any outside? It's purely inner space. And by that I mean it's nothing but the past and possible futures. Whereas the material world will just say it doesn't have any inside. It's just sheerly outside. It's an outsideness in the now. But consciousness, it's not something inside, as if inside is over against the outside. It's what we call inside is actually the way time gets made room for. That what we call memory, it seems so subjective, as if the material organs in the brain which make the experience of memory possible are somehow subjective, rather than, again, a kind of materiality which makes room for a past which is so interior that it's absolutely invisible. It can't be seen anywhere, can't really be found. Even if you would dig around in my brain and look around in the memories, you're not going to find the actual past as it's experienced by me as a memory. That past is nothing but an interiority, right? I think subjectivity is time. People have mistakenly believed that there's a them inside and then there's an outer world. And then the problem of time is, well, where is time? Time is movement and counting in relationship to that movement and its change. But there's another sense in which more than just that set of relations of process of change and the counting that goes with it, when we start to think about what does it mean to be a historical being, a being who's concerned about its distant future, its own possible death, the more that I'm able to think about the fact that death is a future event that's inside me. I'm open to it. Well, it's nowhere to be seen in its materiality, and yet my openness to it feels like my inward depths. My most inward depths can recognize my ancestry. They can look not back to my parents and grandparents, but all the way back to the origins of the species, to the cosmos. But they can also run ahead to my own death. In those acts, it's more than something inside. That is, inside is the way that time hides itself in materiality. What we call the subject and what we call subjectivity has to do with time and time management and co-comportment toward the past, co-comportment toward the future. Right? Our concerns, our desires, and our worries, they're not things inside us. They have to do with the reality of facing possible relations in the future. Things like, who will one marry or not? Will one get a raise? What kind of job will one have or not? All of these kinds of things, they're not just in one's head. They're the way that, how is it possible to say this, that when you're walking along with someone and you're talking with them, you're not bringing something out from inside you in order to share it with another so that they could internalize it. Both of you always already outside yourself, dwelling in the historicity that makes intelligible the very conversation you're having. You're now articulately co-comporting toward a future by way of the speech, but nothing's getting sent from an inside to an outside. If anything, time is coming home to roost here in the present. Okay, thanks.